Hello, and thank you for joining me again today on the Finding Hope After Loss podcast. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. If you like the show, please leave a review or rating on Apple or Spotify. It only takes a moment and really helps the show reach more loss and infertility families. Don't forget that the Wave of Light will be happening on October 15th. This is where everyone lights a candle at 7 p.m. in whatever time zone you are in. This is to honor and remember all of the babies that were gone too soon. I will be reading the list of names again this year and posting the video on all of my social media accounts at Journey for Jasmine. Today I am talking with Meghan. In this episode, she discusses going through a partial molar pregnancy that then turned into cancer. She also talks about what it's like going through such a rare pregnancy complication. Hello, everyone. Today I am here with Meghan. Meghan, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Megan Lowe, and I am a 36-year-old new mommy to a rainbow baby, Adeline Palmer. I experienced a miscarriage, which was diagnosed as a partial molar pregnancy and turned into cancer. Super rare, but like I said, I have a baby, and things turned out okay in the end.
Yeah, so we're about the same age, so I'm sure you got treated as the quote advanced maternal age.
Yes, I think they use the word geriatric.
Yeah, it's so nice to see all over your paperwork, isn't it?
Yes, yep.
I was
I'll
like,
look for a
did you have to
geriatric.
write this? Yeah, I was like, did you have to write this on like everything about me? There is more to me.
Yeah, right.
So before you had a loss, had you ever heard about a molar pregnancy before?
I had no idea about any of the things that came along with pregnancy. I was actually really afraid to be pregnant. I'm just like super sensory. I overstimulated, and just being pregnant was really scary to me. So I didn't try to look into much, and especially not things that could go wrong because it would just make it even worse for me. So no, I never heard of it.
So do you mind talking a little bit about your loss story?
Yeah. So my husband and we got pregnant in February of 2021, 22, sorry. And it was exciting. We didn't have any struggles trying to get pregnant. It happened pretty quickly. And and it I wanted to be pregnant despite being really, really scared of it. And then we went in for our 8 week ultrasound, which was the very first one, that the one that like confirms that you're actually pregnant, and you maybe will get to see the heartbeat. And we go in there all giddy, and it was not even 5 minutes into the appointment where the ultrasound tech said that there was no heartbeat. And I think I blacked out for a second because I was like, wait, what? Ha ha ha. Like I laughed about it. Like, you're kidding. Maybe we just couldn't see it at the 8 week appointment. And then she was like, no, your baby's no longer viable, or it won't, it's not going to be a baby. And then everything kind of went really fast from there. We were rushed into the doctor's office. I didn't even have a chance to cry yet. I was still processing. It's just so surreal. After that, I had a DNC a couple days later, which was actually on April Fool's Day, which was a really sick joke. Um, I was still a little bit in denial, and I was saying, like, maybe there's still a chance. Should you just check again to see if there's a heartbeat? But no, there wasn't. And then they asked if I wanted genetic testing. I said yes. I just wanted to make sure it was nothing that, like, either Matt or my husband is Matt, nothing that we caused. And then the results came back, and it was a partial molar pregnancy. I was at my horse farm sitting out after a nice ride when I got the call, and I just couldn't really understand what she was talking about with what a partial molar pregnancy was, and that cancer may be involved, but it's really rare. You won't get the cancer part. We haven't seen that happen here at this practice. It's super rare. So I went and I got my weekly blood draws to make sure my HCG was going down. It got all the way down to 17, which is so low. And then it spiked back up 3 weeks in a row. They sent me over to Dana-Farber in Boston, which is a really great cancer hospital. And they confirmed that I had gestational trophoblastic neoplasia, which is the cancer that is so rare that forms after a molar or a partial molar pregnancy. From there, I got chemo. I think I had maybe like 4 or 5 rounds because my number was so low. It was 17, so I didn't have that far to get to zero. So that was kind of lucky in my unfortunate events. That was the only lucky part. And it was quite the roller coaster ride. And it's still I just can't believe that I can say I had cancer. I'm in remission and I was able to get pregnant and have the most perfect baby a couple of years later.
Wow, that's just, it's one of those things that they always say is so rare, but then like when it happens to you, you're like, it doesn't feel very rare. Like, why am I the one that's in the, less than 1% chance or whatever it is?
Yeah, it is so typically me though. Like all my friends and family would be like, "Yes, of course, Megan, you got that rare thing." Or not
Like,
surprised.
well, I didn't want that rare thing, okay?
No. You start like either playing the lottery or doing something that's like rare that's good.
So did they tell you anything like if you already had a molar pregnancy, is there a higher chance of you having another one, or does that not affect the future? Do you know?
Well, they said that there is like a slight increase of percentage, but it's still so low and so rare. But like when they say, oh no, it's really rare that you'd have another one, I kind of just laugh and I'm like, yeah, well, you told me it was rare that I would get cancer, or you told me it was rare to have a partial molar pregnancy. So kind of like I was like, well, I'm only gonna take that with a grain of salt. So
Right.
um
Like now it's hard to believe anything.
yeah, it is. Yeah, you tell me it's a 1% chance, I'm probably going to be that 1%. But no, they did say that it was like a slightly increased chance to have another one, but it's really rare. And luckily, I did not have one.
So after your loss, have you found anybody else like in the loss community that's had an experience like yours?
I have. I joined the partial molar pregnancy Facebook group and I met a couple people. One person was actually the town over from me. We didn't get a chance to meet up, but we are in contact on Instagram. And then I made friends with another woman we're friends on Instagram as well. And she had the same timeline as me, except she didn't get the cancer part. And we still talk, and she's just a friend that I made through this whole journey. And it's kind of cool that we both feel the same way. We can share the experience together because not many people know what this feels like.
I think that's great that you've been able to find people that know literally exactly what you went through. Because, like we talked about it, it's such a rare thing that it's not like you can just walk down the street and find somebody else who's had the same kind of loss.
Yeah, and I see that like I did share my story on social media and I was really open about our miscarriage. And there were so many people coming out of the woodwork saying, I had a miscarriage too. I had this, I had that. And it's such a large population of people that have had a miscarriage or a loss or that struggle to get pregnant. But then when you narrow it down to what caused your miscarriage, what happened after your miscarriage, it was like I was kind of getting further and further away from those people because like why did I have to have weekly blood draws? Why did I have to have the cancer part after the miscarriage, as if the miscarriage wasn't bad enough? It was like I was in a totally different boat, and it's hard to find somebody that also had chemo from this crazy rare miscarriage.
So I think you touched on it a little bit, but how did they figure out that it did turn cancerous?
Yep. So HCG, for anyone who doesn't know what that is, it is the hormone that tells you that you're pregnant. That's what the when you use the pregnancy test, that's what tells the pregnancy test to put those two pink lines on there. And it should be going up appropriately as you are pregnant with a viable baby. And in my case, it tripled, quadrupled too fast, which it showed them that there was something wrong. My baby was growing with a tumor. And when they removed the baby and the tumor, everything should be fine then. Like everything should have gone away. But through those weekly blood tests to make sure that my HCG tracked down, they saw that my tumor was growing back because my HCG spiked back up. So my body essentially thought that I was still pregnant. So it was producing that HCG as if there was a baby in my uterus, not a tumor regrowing.
Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, I wasn't sure how they, because I know that there are other reasons that the HCG can rise again if it's like an ectopic or something like that. So I was just curious how they, I guess it was because of the type of pregnancy they knew.
Yep. Yes, exactly. Because in a partial molar pregnancy, it's when two sperms meet the egg and there's three sets of chromosomes. So your baby is growing with a tumor. In a complete molar pregnancy, there is no baby, it's just a tumor, which is another, I don't even know how to process that, just being pregnant with a tumor. I, I feel like I'm a little bit fortunate to say that like I did have a baby in there and she was a girl, but she also did have that tumor. So that is that is what causes the cancer. It was not in me already. The cancer was not in me already. It was caused because of that two sperms meeting the egg and having three chromosomes.
So did you have to actually go to like a oncologist or was it something like your OB office treated?
I went to Dana-Farber in Boston and I had to meet with an oncologist and I actually am so blessed to be in Massachusetts because we have one of the top doctors that specializes in gestational trophoblastic neoplasia, which is so crazy that he lives here. And I had that. And I was able to be treated by such a prestigious doctor in this rare cancer field.
That is pretty amazing that I don't always believe in, coincidences. So I think that's pretty not cool, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I was so excited to hear that like he was part of the organization of research on this and he was just wonderful. Everyone at Dana-Farber was wonderful. I couldn't get treated through my OB because it is so rare. They don't really I find that a lot of doctors don't know where to go with this when a molar or a partial molar turns cancerous because it is so rare. I asked my doctor, how many people in this practice have had this? And she said, we've only had a couple in the last 3 or more years. So it's crazy rare. So they send you off. And I'm glad that they did send me off because what a humbling experience to go to Dana-Farber and see and be a part of such a sad, but very, I, I don't even know the word for it, just being in a cancer hospital and seeing all those people and feeling blessed to have a cancer that has a 98% success rate and I didn't lose my hair and I I felt lucky and it hurt my heart to be there around other people who were not as lucky.
I can imagine that would have been, grateful that you know that you're getting the treatment you need, but also, yeah, really, really sad for everybody else who's going through it.
Yes, definitely another surreal experience. Like I can't believe I'm here.
Were you told that you had to wait a certain amount of time before you could try again?
Yep. So when you have a molar or partial molar pregnancy without the cancer part, you do have to wait. I think the guidelines now is 3 months after you hit zero HCG, but because I had to have chemo, I had to wait a year.
Did you know, like, did you feel ready to try again?
I think that I wanted to try again only because I am 36. I'll be 37 this year, and we didn't want to prolong this. I know that, I mean, I want two kids, but one is just fine for now, and we wanted to kind of speed this process up. So yeah, we were ready to try again, but we couldn't, so we waited a year.
I find that so hard, like, because after our stillbirth, we were originally told that we needed to wait a year, and I was like, I can't do that. I
Yeah.
can't wait a year. And so he was like, okay, well, he's like, really, 6 months is probably fine. And it was like the longest 6 months of my life. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. We did busy ourselves during that year. I started a little business, Lemons to Lemonade, and I took up what people would say is trash or like leftover materials and I upcycle that stuff and I make it into something that can have a new, beautiful life. And it was kind of just like my motto, turning lemons to lemonade. And that was what I was essentially doing with my own life. So everything that I made in my little small business went towards a trip to Europe. And my husband and I went to Germany and France, and we called it our lemonade trip. And then from there, I'll let you put the pieces together. But Adeline Palmer came 9 months later.
I love that though. I love the business that you started and that you were able to turn old things into new things again. I think that's a great way to kind of channel your grief and your energy.
Yep, we said what could we do that we wouldn't necessarily want to do with a baby in tow? Let's go to Europe. I wouldn't want to go do all the vineyards and all the things that we did with a baby in tow. So we did make the most of it, and it was really fun.
Yeah, definitely having kids changes your vacation styles.
It definitely does.
So did you feel like you received a lot of support from your family and friends?
They are amazing. Yes. My Matt's family is wonderful. My family is wonderful. My friends were incredibly supportive. They mourned our loss with us. They cried with us. They laughed with us. They supported our small business and our desires to do all the fun things in the year that we had to take off. And I just can't thank them all enough for the love and the support that they showed us.
Do you feel that you got support too from like your medical team here? I mean, I know like once you went to see the oncologist and everything, but did you feel like your initial doctors were supportive?
Oh my gosh, they are wonderful. And I've seen them so many times since, because my pregnancy with Adeline was actually kind of rocky too. So I was in and out of my practice a lot. So everybody knows me by name and who I am. And I'm the girl that had chemo and the girl that's very anxious to be pregnant. So I feel like they're just like friends now. They were wonderful.
I think it's so weird, like once you actually give birth to your baby and then like you don't see them anymore. And it's like, but I was seeing you so often and now like I never see you.
Yeah, yeah, I want to go visit them. I actually brought my midwife crumble cookies afterwards because she just took such good care of us.
I love that. We hear too often of experiences with medical staff that aren't the best. They aren't the most supportive or whatever the case may be. So I always really love hearing about all the good experiences.
Yeah, yep, this was a great one in the good times and the bad times.
Did you find any other things that helped you with your grief besides your business and traveling, any like particular like resources or anything like that?
I think just following the partial molar pregnancy page, sharing my story, listening to other people's stories, and just kind of getting to know people that share similar experiences with me and making new friends through it.
I feel like there's nothing better than having lost like other lost parent friends because they just get you.
Yeah, they do. And it's not a fun boat to be in, but if it weren't for that boat, we wouldn't meet some of the people that we did meet.
That's why like the internet is amazing. I'm glad to have it.
Yeah. Yep.
I know it can be bad when you go down like the Google rabbit hole of things you probably shouldn't be Googling, which I am guilty of, but for other things it's good.
For all those listening that are pregnant or wanting to be pregnant right now, don't Google partial molar pregnancy. It's rare. It doesn't happen.
Oh man, I'm sure when you got that diagnosis, did you go Google it?
Oh yeah, I definitely did. And it was still confusing when you Google it because the research out there is not that expansive. So I was kind of lost at what it actually was and what happens.
I feel like sometimes like on those rare things, like it leaves you with more questions than anything.
Oh yes,
'Cause
that
I
that
remember, yeah, like my Jasmine was diagnosed with a really rare condition, and I was trying to Google it, and they're just like, wasn't that much out there. And I'm like, okay, I don't know that I learned anything.
yeah.
I
But
feel,
doesn't make you kind of want to share that diagnosis with other people so that you can help those who are looking as we did?
oh, definitely. And I remember, I think it was, I don't even remember what group it was in, but I had kind of shared a little bit about it because she had mosaic trisomy 15, which is extremely rare. And I think it was like a year later that somebody reached out to me and they're like, "Hey, I saw your post. I have a baby that was just diagnosed with this." And so it was just kind of cool that even a year later, a post I had completely forgotten about, somebody saw it and it helped them.
Yeah, yep. And that's exactly why I was so eager to do this podcast with you and any future endeavors, just because this is such a rare thing that happened. And I have a natural desire to help people. I'm a special education teacher. I rescue animals. I rescued past really bad boyfriends. My husband's wonderful. I didn't have to rescue him. Uh, but I just have a desire to help people. And if I can help somebody navigate this, I just want to put my story out there and I want to lend a hand to somebody else.
If there's any advice that you could offer for those who are, newly going through loss, what would that be?
I would just say it sounds so cliche, but there is light at the end of the tunnel. There's a rainbow after the storm. The baby that is meant for you is going to find you. I think about how I would not have Adeline if I had Harper. And I can't imagine my life without Adeline. Oh my gosh, you're getting me emotional. I didn't think this was gonna happen. Oh, because Adeline is perfect and she's the one that was supposed to be mine in my arms. So that baby is going to be that the baby that's meant for you is going to be one day.
Do you plan to talk to your daughter about her sister?
Yes, I do. And I think, and outside in my backyard, my mom bought us a butterfly bush and it has a little stone underneath, and it's kind of our just like our memorializing Harper. And I took Addie out and I was walking through my garden, admiring my flowers, and she started waving at the butterfly bush. And I thought that was so wild. So I think she knows who her sister is, and she's only 7 months old. So she's definitely going to grow up knowing that she had someone before her.
I love that so much.
Yep.
I,
It was crazy.
I think sometimes the kids just know things.
Yep, I agree. I'm sure Harper sent her this exact baby to me.
I like to think that too, that Jasmine's up there and sent her sisters here.
Yep. I was so excited to hear that Addie was a girl because I was so excited to have a girl. And I felt like it got kind of stripped from me. So when we had the gender reveal and I heard that it was a girl, I was so excited.
And I think that's something that people don't understand, like especially if you've never been through a loss. Not saying you would have been like upset if you had a boy, but I
Yeah.
lost a girl, I lost Jasmine. I really wanted another girl.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah,
think I think, people are like, "Oh, like how could you be upset at the gender?" And it's like, I don't think it's that they're upset. I think it's that they had their girl or their boy taken from them and they missed out on that chance. So they want another one so that they get that chance.
exactly. Yep. You prepared your heart for it and it was stripped.
Exactly. I think people just don't understand like all the complicatedness that comes with loss.
Yeah. There are so many different emotions and your feelings, and none of them are right or wrong. It's yours and yours only.
So you said you work with special education. Do you work with like young kids or older kids?
I work with elementary aged children with special needs.
Did you find that hard to go back to that work after your loss?
I wouldn't say it was hard. They aren't my personal kids, so I love them as my students. So I didn't really associate my job with my loss, which is probably a good thing.
Yeah, I know there are some people who work with children that have, a really hard time
Yeah,
continuing that work after loss. So it's good that you were able to kind of
separate it.
separate them. Yeah.
It kept me busy, which is good. Those
Yeah.
little guys keep me on my toes, so I didn't have a lot of time to think about it.
Sometimes that's good. That was
Yeah,
kind of my goal after loss, like just stay as busy as I can so I don't have to be sad and think about it.
exactly.
But then like deal with the explosion of feelings later, right?
Yep, yep.
Do you do anything special each year for Harper's birthday or due date or anything like that?
I'd like to say we do, but life came really fast because Adeline came so fast after chemo was over. So it was kind of like a whirlwind of, oh my gosh, this is happening. I was pregnant the year after Harper's first birthday. It would have been her first birthday. And I feel bad saying, no, we don't do anything. We should.
So that's okay. Like I just like to ask because, some people do, some people don't. Some people are just, simply remembering them every day, I think is enough.
Yeah, we do have little things here and there around the house outside that are in remembrance of her. Lots of little things.
I like that too. I like having things, even if they're, subtle things, like just so I look at it and know like that's for her.
Yep.
During your pregnancy after loss, I know you said it was a little bit rocky for you. Were you like anxious the entire time? Were you calm the entire time? Like were you scared of another loss? Like how was that for you?
I like to say that getting pregnant again was the bravest thing that I've ever done because after you experience the heartbreak and then the physical portion of needing chemo and having a DNC and just this everything your body goes through and your heart and your mind, why would anybody want to do that again? I say it was the bravest thing that I've ever done because I did do it again. And I'm so glad I did it again because now we have Addie.
Yeah, it's definitely sometimes I feel like we're crazy. Like, why are we doing this again?
Yeah. So yes, I was anxious. I'm an anxious person anyway, but yes, I was very anxious. I got the heartbeat Doppler thing that you do at your own home, and I was just Googling every little symptom, every little feeling, and as great as being pregnant again and having a successful pregnancy is, having a loss before a successful pregnancy, it kind of strips the joy you're supposed to be feeling for that second pregnancy because you're just constantly worried.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I feel like we don't get to ever fully enjoy pregnancy or any of it, trying to get pregnant, pregnancy, any of it. Like we don't get to fully enjoy it like before.
Yes, it's just a different perspective your second time around after that loss.
I feel like there's always just the fear of it happening again.
Yes, going into that room at that 8-week appointment was so scary. And then everyone after that was also equally as scary. And it's, yeah, it took a toll. I think I was more anxious and more depressed than I ever was after Addie came out. I'm like happy as a clam now, but I was so anxious and just it it was a tough pregnancy.
Did they do an induction for you or did you wait until she came on her own?
I had gestational diabetes, so they had to take her early. So I was induced a week early, which I was totally fine with. Like, let's get this over with. I don't want to be worried. I just want her in my arms. I was worried about all the things that could happen during birth, and I just wanted her to be here. So I'm glad they induced me.
I know. I feel like, I know there's mixed feelings on inductions, but I had one with my rainbow and I was like, oh, yes, I just want her here. Just like you said, like I want her to be safe. I don't want to like wait another week to see if she'll come on her own. Like, let's just do this now.
Yeah, take her out and yep.
And I felt like I didn't fully breathe until she was like on my chest. And I'm like, oh my God, like she's here.
That was I wish that I could fully breathe when she was on my chest, but it was just a rocky birth too. She came out and she wasn't breathing on her own, and then I hemorrhaged 2 liters of blood and needed a transfusion. So between the two of us not doing so well during that labor and delivery, we are just like, nope, we don't want to do this again.
Oh no, I feel so bad. It does seem like anything, like all the rare things that could go wrong do happen.
Yeah. So I'm like, and my husband is totally on the same page. He's like, we don't need to do this again. You've been through enough. We've been through enough. We have this beautiful, perfect, healthy, incredibly intelligent baby. Why are we going to risk it again?
So you think you're done then?
We are done with the me being pregnant thing, but we are in the process of adoption.
So you've already started the process?
We just started it this month. We met with a couple different agencies and we have to narrow down which one we're going to go with. And that should happen by the end of this year. We'll put ourselves into a pool and the fundraising has started. It is expensive, but I think that I would rather adopt a baby that needs a mommy and daddy to love it than put myself at risk and then risk my own Addie not having a mommy or God forbid something happens to me in a third pregnancy. I don't know. It's not worth the risk now that I have Addie. And there are so many babies that need love. So it's so typically me to care for something that needs care. So it's not surprising that I'm going this route, but it's
I
another,
love that you're doing that though.
yeah, it's
And
just,
yeah, I think you're right too. Like it's with all the rare things that have happened, it's like why risk it?
yeah. Yep. And if the adoption doesn't happen or we just decide that Addie is enough, she is enough. She's perfect.
So is there anything else that you would like to share or add?
I think just that if you're experiencing a loss, find your people, find your village, do something that makes you happy. This is such a tough boat to be in, and self-care is needed to get yourself through it. Don't be afraid to go buy yourself a massage or have that bottle of wine in the bathtub and cry it out. Take care of yourself, do what makes your heart happy, surround yourself with the people that love you, and just know that there is a rainbow after your storm.
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your story with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Megan, for sharing your story with us. As we talked about, once you've been on the bad side of statistics, you no longer find the numbers comforting. After losing Jasmine, I was told there was about a 1% chance of a pregnancy that had mosaic trisomy 15. Knowing I was the one who had that type of pregnancy made me feel like 1% was a huge number. When they said it had a less than 1% chance of it happening again, it just felt like it was pretty much a guarantee that it would happen again in my mind. I know before going through loss, I found way more comfort in those numbers. I used to even look at the online miscarriage chart and feel better about the numbers as they got lower and lower each week. Then I had a loss at 32 weeks, and I realized, like so many of us, that there is no safe point in pregnancy. I know it sounds like such a negative way to view things, but I think it's just really hard for so many of us because we have been on that bad side of things. Just know it's completely normal to be afraid and to worry about these things. And as much as we try not to, sometimes we honestly just can't help it. We all just do the best we can. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. If you like the show, please leave a review or rating on Apple or Spotify. It only takes a moment and really helps the show reach more loss and infertility families. Thank you so much for tuning in, and remember, we are all in this together.